Hello and welcome back to Let the Stone Speak. I'm Brent Nagtegaal. Just got back from a trip to Israel and we are packing up our exhibit here, Kingdom of David and Solomon Discovered. And here we are in our exhibit space, just returning it back to its original function. However, just before I left, I did get to interview Professor Yahalom-Mack up at the very northernmost site, excavation site in Israel at Abel Beth Maacah. Really fascinating interview. We're going to play that for you today. This excavation is done by Hebrew University in conjunction with the Israel National Parks Authority and the Israel Antiquities Authority. This is a territory where Israel controlled. It's featured in the biblical narrative during David's time and then a little bit thereafter. I had never visited the site. I was there with my colleague Christopher Reams and even my son. And Naama was very kind to us to give us lots of time while she was excavating with her team. Don't forget, if you like our content, please like and subscribe to our channel on YouTube. You can also request our magazine. It's called Let the Stone Speak, same name as the podcast. It comes out 6 times per year. It's absolutely free. Wherever you are in the world, if you want a copy of this, you can go to our website, armstronginstitute.org. Or you can write an email to letters@armstronginstitute.org and we'll make sure you get a copy. And so here it is with Professor Naama Yahalom-Mack. Thank you very much for taking our interview today.
Thank you, Brent, for visiting us up north.
Yes, this is my first time to your wonderful site at Abel Beth Maacah. How would you pronounce that? Is that correct? Or
Abel Beth Maacah. Yes.
Maacah, great. So how many seasons have you been excavating at this site? Is this your long-term project? And what team do you have assembled this year?
The excavation was initiated by Nava Panitz-Cohen and Robert Mullins of Azusa Pacific. Nava Panitz-Cohen is associated with the Hebrew University of Jerusalem, and they decided in 2012 to come up here and initiate an excavation. It's one of the largest tells in Israel that was not yet explored.
Okay, how big is it?
It's about 100 dunams, 10 hectares.
Okay.
And both of them are students of Ami Mazar.
Okay.
They came with a very clear methodology and aim. And since this site is located very close to the Lebanese border, it wasn't excavated so far. Bill Deaver surveyed the site back in the 70s, but that's about it.
So that's pretty amazing in terms of archaeological sites that are left untouched.
Exactly. So in 2012 they came up here and surveyed the site. They decided to open some excavation areas in areas around the ancient Arab village that used to be here until 1948 by the name of Abil el-Kamech.
Okay.
So preserving the ancient name of Abel Beth Maacah.
Ah, yeah.
I joined the excavation in 2015.
Okay.
Just as an advisor for all kinds of analyses that were done up at the site. And since then, since 2017, I've been affiliated with the Hebrew University.
Okay.
And I'm a co-director of the excavation to this very day.
Fantastic.
So Robert Mullins wasn't able to join us this year, so it's just Nava and I. And we're also short in staff. And basically excavating with our students at the Hebrew University, both Israeli students and international program that we have for MA.
For masters, yes.
So they were here all year. They did not escape when the Iranian attacks began, and they're here with us today.
Great.
Which is exciting.
Well, it does seem you've got a lot of life back here behind us, so the work is going fast on, and you've had 2 weeks already, or one more to go? Or?
One more to go. This is our last day of the second week. We canceled the first week with the uncertainty surrounding the war with Iran.
Okay.
Yes.
So in terms of geography, where is the tell situated in the larger area?
Yeah, we're at the very northern point of the Hula Valley.
Okay.
As you know, the borders of Israel kind of penetrate into Lebanon at this point. It's the finger of the Galilee. Yep. So we've got only Metula as north of us. And we are at the same valley where Chatzor is. Chatzor is in the southwestern corner of the Hula Valley. We've got Tel Dan 6 kilometers to the east.
And we're even slightly north than Tel Dan.
We're a bit north in Tel Dan, not much. Chatzor is 30 kilometers down south, the Phoenician coast, 30 kilometers to the west, Aram-Damascus, as the crow flies, about 70 kilometers to the northeast.
And this is this geographic location of the tell, and you mentioned the cross-section that we have with Aram, Phoenicia, northern Israel. This is what is fascinating about this site to me.
This is a meeting point. It's a border. It's a junction during the Iron Age.
Right.
It's between the expanding, strong Aramean kingdom of Aram-Damascus that basically swallowed every other small Aramean entity in the region. It's between the...
And that was in the 9th century.
That only happens in the 9th century, I would say. 10th century, we're still in a calmer world. The Phoenicians, we've got the Tyre expansion in the 9th century, but Sidon, Tyre, strong cities in the 11th century as well. And we've got the Israelite kingdom, which is expanding from its core in the Jezreel Valley, and of course the rate of this expansion is debated today.
We'll get to that
in archaeological research.
Yeah. So you've got a meeting point of these different powers. Is that and this is your period of main interest in this site relates to the period of the Iron Age rather than before earlier inhabitation, but you do have that here as well.
Maybe we'll take it a step back and say that during the 3rd millennium there's a settlement here, early Bronze Age settlement, along other settlements in the valley. Kedesh is a huge city back then, excavated by our colleagues from the Hebrew University. And during the 2nd millennium we have an urban center built here, a fortified urban center. And this is in line with, it's a bit later than Tel Dan. Tel Dan is fortified earlier. This is I'm talking about the Middle Bronze Age too.
Right.
Chatzor.
What would be a general date for that?
1800.
Okay.
And Chatzor is fortified at about the same time. And of course, Chatzor is a huge city. It's an 80-hectare site.
Massive.
It's enormous. But during the Middle Bronze, still Dan and Abel are fortified cities that live in the orbit of Chatzor.
Right.
And it's interesting, how the sites are related to one another. But we know that in the end of the Middle Bronze Age, there's a massive destruction of these urban centers. And both Dan and Abel, they're not really rebuilt. They have some late bronze, it's limited in scale. At Tel Dan, we've got the famous Mycenaean tomb, so it kind of distorts the picture because, of course, there's some elites around, but it's not a major city. And here as well, our surveys headed by Ido Wachtel, who's a really good specialist of surveys, in 2020 showed that late Bronze Age is barely existing on this mound. Contrary to what we thought, or my colleagues thought earlier in the excavations, because we have some activities near the fortifications in the south, but they're very limited. And we do know that at the top of the mound, there is some occupation during the late Bronze Age, probably dated to the 13th century.
Okay.
So later in the late Bronze Age, something is built on top of this mound.
And then something happens at the site. Soon thereafter.
Yeah, so what we know is that the entire site is settled during the early Iron Age.
Okay.
And it begins with a pit settlement.
Okay.
A settlement or a village settlement or some kind of an occupation that is characterized by multiple pits that they're quarrying.
Okay.
It's a known phenomena for the beginning of the Iron One.
Okay.
And we know it to Tel Dan, and we know it elsewhere.
Yeah.
And then not much later, we see a rebuilding of the site, and we have public buildings that we excavated at the very bottom of our considerable Iron Age trench here. We are in Area A, that's in the center of the mound, and this is one of the most complete sequences of Iron Age between 12th and 9th centuries that we have, I don't know, anywhere.
Almost anywhere.
It's a really good stratigraphical sequence.
So in terms, just so that people that are watching this can kind of hook it into biblical narrative, at least the time period of the Bible, once we get to this Iron One period where you're starting to find settlement here and then a larger Iron One structure, we'll talk about what would be some of the dates or personalities that people would think could be related to that.
It's a very good question. It's a time, let's say, we don't know how much after the destruction of Chatzor this happens,
Right.
but we do identify newcomers that are excavating these pits. So exactly who they are.
So what you're
difficult to
saying is
say.
you don't have a ethnic identity that's attached. This people came here and dug here, but this is somewhere in the Judges
Well,
period.
the only thing that we could say is that during the second millennium, Abel is mentioned as Abel or Abilu
Okay.
in texts and sources, mainly Egyptian sources.
Okay.
And then when we come to the Bible, suddenly it's Abel Beth Maacah.
Okay.
So there is a suffix
Okay.
that it was suggested that the suffix means that newcomers are in play here. But we do see some continuity of the late Bronze Age material culture.
Right.
It's not a strict change.
Absolutely.
We're not talking about ethnicities. We're talking about complex identities here.
And so the earliest mention of the town in the Bible would date from around what
From the
period?
time of David.
From the time of David.
Let's separate two things. There's
Sure.
the kingdom of Maacah, which with its sister kingdom Geshur,
Gesher.
and that's a story that we're not sure how to relate to what's
Right.
going on here. Excuse me.
Because Maacah is a name that's attached to
Maacah is a
Gesher.
name that we find in the Bible since the days of Genesis. It's a name. But the kingdom of Maacah and Shur are thought to have existed a little more to the east.
Okay.
Maacah should be located in the Bashan or the Golan.
Okay.
It's not clear why we should consider this, because it was. Some scholars see this as the capital of the kingdom of Maacah. In any event, the earliest name of Mamash, Abel Beth Maacah in the Bible is from the time of David. With the story of the wise woman, we have the rebel, Sheba ben Bichri. He
Right.
escapes from Jerusalem all the way to
During
the north.
Absalom, just after Absalom's revolt.
Exactly. And he reaches as far as he can, almost to the very north, because we'll see that there's Ayun, another city to the north mentioned in the campaigns of later kings. But he escapes here, and then Job pursues him, and there's a very interesting discussion with a woman that is defined as the wise woman.
The wise
woman of Abel Beth Maacah.
And as far as the narrative goes, Sheba is his head is lopped off.
He's beheaded, and the head is thrown over the wall, and
Joab goes back to Jerusalem.
exactly. So
Do you have habitation from around that time?
Okay, so I want to say that, first of all, not even considering the historicity of this passage,
Right.
the conversation that the wise woman has with Job is very interesting to us.
Okay.
Because she tells him, we are I don't remember the exact words, we are the faithful and the righteous, we believe in the God of Israel, and why are you trying to kill, not to destroy? It's translated in English to destroy. In Hebrew, it's the verb lehamit. Why are you trying to kill a city and a mother in Israel?
Okay.
So what we learn from this text, first of all, is that these people, whenever it is in time, they're situated at a very far away, distant location, and they need to prove that they belong. And this is very interesting for the question of the identity of the people living here. What is their material culture? How is it affected by the Aramean to the north, by the Phoenicians? How Israelite are they, if they are, and when they are?
Right.
And it's a very interesting question to us, and this is one of our major focuses in this excavations, kind of to try and see this complex identity problem in this border region. And maybe it's easier to talk about who they're paying their taxes to.
Okay.
That's a simpler question, I would say.
Right. Rather than the ethnic.
Rather than talking about what they are in terms of religion, faith.
Right. And so, as far as the structures that we have here, that are behind us, what you're excavating right now, maybe we can jump across to the two main phases that we can see, or two main periods that we can see here, Iron 1 and then Iron 2.
Yeah.
What does this area look like during the Iron 1 period?
So in the Iron 1, we've got a gradual development. After the pit settlement, there's some public buildings, very interesting public buildings that are built. And these are a combination between cult and production. We've got multiple matzevot, standing stones, and other cultic features that are together with a lot of production remains, such as grinding stones and ashy installations and all kinds of things. So it's something different than what we knew in the Bronze Age.
Yeah.
Some kind of development in the
There's industry
in cultic
going
and
on
religious
here, plus
practices.
religious practices.
Yeah. And then this is destroyed too. In the middle of the 11th century, you've got radiocarbon dates placing the destruction within the 11th century.
Okay.
We have a very similar destruction in Tel Dan.
Okay.
In Tel Dan at the time, there was a village, a lot of bronze working.
Okay.
So no public buildings. And we are thinking that in the seesaw relationship between the sites, Abel is the major site, Dan would be secondary, and Chatzor practically non-existent during the Iron 1.
Okay.
And so this is the time for Abel Beth Maacah to thrive, to shine.
Yeah.
The 11th century. So after the destruction of those buildings, we have the building here of an elaborate building, very lavish.
Yeah. You were kind of calling it a palace.
I want to call it a palace. I don't want to need to excuse myself anymore.
Don't. Yeah.
I think it's a palace. It's built beautifully.
Right.
Walls.
Yeah, we saw some of the construction of the walls, the doorways.
This was hit probably by a seismic activity, but all the other walls you can see are really nicely, angled.
Yeah.
And the door frames are
invested.
They're all in the corner of the rooms. They have nice frames with flat stones, and we have these basalt floors. So, like in an
interlocking, or
like one room with the floor of stones. Alternating.
Yeah.
One room with stone floor, and then one without, and then one with, and one without.
It's planning.
And one with.
Yeah.
And when we started to appreciate this building, we understood that this building we need a plan. We need to know the full plan of this building. And as much as we've expanded, and we've removed a lot of the Iron 2A remains to get down to this building, we still do not know its full plan. It's going on and on and on. And there's a major destruction at the end of this, or the end of this period, which is a very similar destruction to what we know in Megiddo. The Megiddo 6A destruction, Yokneam destruction, Kinnerot. This is the time where many sites are destroyed.
And those other sites, we have a culprit behind the destruction of those other sites?
Well, that's a major question in the archaeology of Israel, as well as the question, when were the cities that follow built? Were they built immediately on top of the destruction? Was there a period of a gap? The minimalists like to, expand this gap between the destruction of the Iron 1 and the building of the Iron 2 buildings, and kind of push it down as far as the 9th century, the Omerides, whoever.
But you don't really see that here in the material
here
culture.
We see the opposite. We do see them building immediately on top of the destruction. We see them utilizing walls.
The walls are in the same orientation.
And the walls are built in the same orientation, and it is a different construction. It's a different character. But we do see some continuity between the phases. And this is, again, one of the questions that we're pursuing here.
So in terms of the dating of this, there's always going to be wiggle room. But as you would see the evidence coming in, best as you could describe it, this transition from the destruction of the Iron 1 city to the construction of the new Iron 2 A city, when would your ballpark be for that, as far as the information is?
The answer is I do not know.
Right. Well, it wasn't the 12th century, and it wasn't the 8th century. So you've got a window that you're working in. That's all I'm...
My window is the 10th century.
Okay.
This is when it happens. And the reason that I know this is because we have excavated a huge citadel in the upper mound of this site, which we date again to the Iron 2A.
Right.
And below the citadel, in the foundations of the citadel, we have dates from the late 10th century.
Okay.
So the destruction here, it's a good question. How, first of all, if our dates are really the earliest dates of the citadel, this is difficult to say. We think that they're early, but the destruction here, when you look at the radiocarbon date, there are two peaks, you know,
Right.
one in the first half of the 10th century, one in
Right.
the second half of
Yep.
the 10th century. We're saying that there's not a big gap between them. We need to, of course, prove this, but still, we think somewhere in the beginning of the second half of the 10th century would be a good date for the destruction and the rebuilding.
So if we could talk a little bit about some of the major discoveries that you've made here that have made headlines over the past few years. If we could talk about the head first, the head made out of faience. I don't know if you're sick of talking about this or not, but it's a prize discovery.
No, I'm happy to talk about it, but I'm also sorry to disappoint. A lot of people are trying to bring a person, you know, behind this face.
This is natural.
Of course, it's natural, and I fully understand this. We have published this figurine.
Yeah.
And,
Well, maybe you could just describe the figurine first and its dating, and then...
Yeah, so first of all, we found it in the latest phase of the citadel up in Area B. We think that it's found in a cultic room.
Okay.
We have a very massive entrance to this chamber. It's one of the casemates, one of the chambers of the casemate. There's a massive entrance. In front of the entrance, there's a circle of stones and an ash besides it. And this guy was found on that floor in this room. He was lying facing up. It's so funny.
Imagine
like
finding...
he wanted people take me out of here. And when we brought him back to the lab, Mimi Lavie, our conservator, she cleaned him up. And he was absolutely exquisite.
Yeah.
I mean, it's workmanship that we don't see everywhere. He is a bearded male, the head of a bearded male. He has a lot of hair.
Right.
And very black, which means something.
Black hair.
He has black hair, black eyebrows, black pupils, black beard. He's very black, you know. Debbie Ben-Ami, who worked with us on the interpretation of his iconography, says it's a very manly thing to do. If you want to be a man in the Engineers, you want to have a lot of black hair.
Oh, no.
That's your...
Sorry.
Yeah.
I'm out.
You're out, sorry. And he's wearing this bandana on his head.
Yeah.
This is a typical Semite type of headdress, you know, for a male. But we have to say that in the stripes, we see yellow.
Okay.
And the yellow is probably indicating gold. And
Indicating what? Sorry?
Gold.
Gold, okay.
So we're thinking that this guy is an elite. Who is this guy?
When would you date him to?
So that's from the abandonment of the citadel, which is the second half of the 9th century.
Okay.
The entire site was abandoned at the second half of the 9th century. He is maybe representing someone, someone who placed him on his behalf in this cultic place, to stand before the god permanently, even when he's busy.
Okay.
So it kind of comes to represent this elite person or governor or whoever he is, and not necessarily to depict one of the kings as was hypothesized by many journalists all over the world.
Yep.
Yeah. He got headlines, you know, Ahab and
even without the designation, the artifact itself is so unique and beautiful. And
it is beautiful, and it is made of faience, which is like an early form of glass. It was made in a mold. We've done some research about it. We did a head scan.
Oh, yeah?
The head got a head scan
Okay.
in the Weizmann Institute, and we could see the technique, the way that he was pressed into a mold,
Yep.
and the way that things broke when they removed him from the mold. And the materials that were used, for example, the manganese that was used for the black features, and the green that was used for the faience itself, which are probably copper minerals. And
Nice.
Yep, it's still one of our prized finds. Today it's in the Israel Museum,
People can see it.
rotating.
Rotate. Actually,
Yeah.
I've seen it. Yeah, I've seen it there. The other discovery I think that was very important, and it portends to the other big question about who the people here were paying their taxes to.
Yeah.
This was an inscription that was found on a storage vessel. I believe it was a storage vessel.
Yes.
What did it say, and what are some of the
Okay,
thoughts
so
that can come from
we'll
it?
start from the beginning. We opened another area of excavations to the south of this area, in an area which seems like a little bit like a, how do you say,
Depression.
a depression. We thought that this is a good place for an entrance to the city, maybe a gate or whatnot. And we opened an area of excavation, and we came down on this storage building. A really nicely built storage building, which seems to have one phase. We excavated, it's defined by a long wall on the east, and then walls going perpendicular, and created these elongated holes. The holes were full of jars.
Amazing.
So this was a storage building for
Yeah,
sure.
Absolutely.
We know that they were burnt. It was sort of a destruction. Not all of them showed fire, but Yoav Vaknin, who does our palomagnetic research, told us that the vases themselves are burnt.
Temperature high.
Yeah, and we have no dates from this building. We don't know when it was built. One date, one radiocarbonate from below the building tells us that it was built during the 9th century. So it's not a 10th century thing, it's a 9th century endeavor. And we've already excavated more than 60 jars. We've excavated more than 70, we've restored more than 60. One of them had this inscription below the handle with ink, and it said Le Benayo, meaning belonging to a guy named Benayo. And Benayo is a form of a name which is shortened. If he was in Judah, he would have been Benayahu.
Benaniah in the English, if that's how it would be, just so people can understand.
Okay, and
Benaniah.
then in the kingdom of Israel, it would have been shortened. This diphthong would have been shortened to Benayo. Right?
The end
So
of it, yep.
the name Bana, to build, God has built, is very scarce. Not scarce.
Common.
You find it everywhere, even in the Aramean sphere, and everywhere. But the ending Yo or Yahu, of course, is the ending of the God of Israel. So if we're reading it correctly, it's a Hebrew name, an Israelite name with a theophoric ending in an Israelite form. And Rollstone, who was our epigrapher, Christopher Rollstone, identified the script as Hebrew. So in this case, it's important as well to date this building.
Right.
So one name on one vessel doesn't make this an Israelite building. But it is something that is very metuchnan, planned. It's planned. And it's administrative.
The building itself.
It's part of some kind of central administration.
Right.
It's not one building. It's probably 3 buildings as we stand today. A second one definitely, maybe a third even, to the south. The jars are marked on their handles. About a third of the jars are marked. The vessels were examined by Anat Cohen-Weinberger. She showed that they're local production.
Okay.
So, they're producing the jars. They're probably collecting whatever it is. We still don't know. Probably wine.
Okay.
And maybe this jar was, I don't know, they were keeping it to someone from the Israelite sphere. Or maybe it was built by a central administration that was Israel at the time. So if you force me into the corner, I would say...
Which I would force you into the corner. So that's good you're doing it yourself.
I'm doing it myself because I know what's coming. I would say that maybe this is where the Omerides come in. So we've got a building activity here from the 10th century, but the Omerides would be
responsible for
would
that
be responsible for some makeover in the middle of the 9th century.
Right.
I don't think this storehouse lived long.
Mm-hmm.
I think it was short-lived, and it was
does
and it was abandoned or destroyed not much later, and probably during the time of this Aramean destruction.
Yeah, I'm a big believer in people that excavate the site having the first dibs at being the one to give forth their interpretation of the site rather than other people interpreting
For them.
But this period is very debated in archaeological circles. How far did the Kingdom of Israel come towards the north? People have different theories of when the northward expansion happened. And many of the minimalists would put that as far as the mid-8th century, even when Israelite domination came underneath Jeroboam II.
Right.
But from what you're doing here, you seem like that is pretty late.
So if we want to be careful, we would say that our excavations, first and foremost, put Abel Beth Maacah on the map during the 10th century and the 9th century.
Right.
If you look at the Forgotten Kingdom of Israel Finkelstein's 2013 book, you'll see Abel Beth Maacah is not even there. It's not on the map during the time of the 10th century, nor in the time of the 9th century.
And yet that's when you have the biggest.
Exactly. And only in the time of Jeroboam II, the 8th century, Abel Beth Maacah is placed there along with Dan.
Mm-hmm.
But we see a very different picture from our excavations here. Abel Beth Maacah was thriving during the 9th and even before late 10th century.
Mm-hmm.
And whether it was Israelite to begin with or whether it was annexed during the time of the Omerides, it still remains a question, but it was there. The 8th century rather is missing here.
Mm-hmm.
We do not have the Tiglath-Pileser destruction here.
Okay.
We have it at Dan.
Yep.
We have it at Chatzor. We do not have it here. It seems like we have lost ground and other sites regained. So it's a bit of a seesaw effect, maybe between us and Dan.
Mm-hmm.
I know that Dan is highly debated today. It's according to the Bible, it's a religious center from the time of Jeroboam I, and it's only what we see here. If we can do the comparisons and relate our finds to Tel Dan, and we're trying to do that as we speak, there's no reason to suspect that Dan is not existing at this time. It could be a modest settlement. It doesn't mean that it's not a cultic center.
Right.
The biblical narrative generally falls in place with our excavations here at Abel Beth Maacah in the region, I would say.
So we talked briefly about the faience head. We talked about the inscription. You also found a large vessel full of bones.
Well, that's true. But, we're kind of focusing on the anomalies and not saying anything about the larger assemblage here.
Great. Please do that.
And I have to say that we have pottery here that includes the red burnished pottery that we know from the Israelite territory. Of course, it's also found to the in the north, so it could reach here. And we've got a hippo jar here. We've got vessels that are in line, and generally the material culture.
So hippo jar, why is that significant?
You have multiple hippo jars in the Jezreel Valley. This is like the economic system of the Jezreel Valley.
Okay.
And this is one reason why some researchers would like to leave the Chula Valley out of the Israelite kingdom, assuming that the hippos kind of define the boundaries of Israel at some point. Of course, it's not necessarily so. It's an economic system, and there are other economic systems to the north. We've got our K-jars that form a different economic system, and I don't think it means anything about geopolitics.
Right.
But we do have material culture which is very diverse here. It could be recognized in sites to the south. It could also be recognized in sites to the north. It includes...
By north, you mean Phoenicia?
I mean Phoenicia and the few sites in Lebanon that we know a little bit their material culture. We have some elements that are koine, that are shared
Yep.
shared material culture between the peoples of the area, and it doesn't matter if you want to define them as Phoenician or Aramean or whatever.
Right.
Otherwise, we do have things that correlate with the material culture of the Kingdom of Israel. So we have both.
How much do you have that would correlate with Aram-Damascus here, material culture that you would say?
We don't know the material culture of Aram-Damascus.
Oh, well,
that's a big problem.
Yeah.
And generally, Arameans, it's not always easy to define what it is exactly.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's exactly not the case of pots and people.
Right.
The Arameans are dispersed. They come into existing settlements and they kind of sink in there. And we really tried in the beginning of the excavation. It was a major theme.
Mm-hmm.
You know, that this would shed light on the Aramean material culture, but it didn't.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, as far as we know. So again, we've got elements that work well with the Israelite kingdom to the south. We also have elements that are a sort of koine,
right.
shared material culture. Yes, and the Astragali jar is an interesting find because the Iron-2A remains are really monumental.
Mm-hmm.
These are large buildings, and there's a lot of industry. We've got a pottery kiln and many taboons and a lot of giant walls. They're very difficult to remove, I have to say. And as part of one of these giant buildings was a stone pavement. On top of the stone pavement was a jar. Inside the jar was kind of elevated. There was a circle of stones, and the jar was situated on top of it. It was full of Astragali bones. That's the knuckle bones of the hind leg of an animal.
Okay.
And we had 406 smashed in one jar. And these were analyzed by Matt Sasno, really studied every single one of them, and he could show that it wasn't 200 animals slaughtered for this event. It was collected over time, and they were used. They had some of them were perforated, some of them, and it seemed like someone collected them together at this time, which is the end of the occupation here, the very late, the very final phase.
This is mid-9th century?
That would be second half of the 9th century. I can't really say exactly when. And collected them in this jar. And whatever happened there, we don't know. We just know that in many cultures, these bones are used for divination. Mm-hmm. The other possibility is a game, but this is not a game.
Right.
They left it there standing, full of Astragali. So if there was kind of a ceremony, the result was the abandonment of the site. That's a dramatic find, I think.
Absolutely.
So
that's happening mid to second half of the 9th century.
Yeah.
And then you said you don't have the destruction of Tiglath-Pileser at all, and that's mid-8th century. So what happens in that 100 years? So these buildings continue to be used? Sites abandoned?
We think there is actually a long period of abandonment. We do find some remains in the very late 7th century.
Okay.
And we do have a beautiful Assyrian cylinder seal, which may be dated based on its iconography to the Assyrian period. And we do have a few walls here and there that are later than all this Iron Age 2 constructions.
So just finally, in terms of modern-day geopolitics, this group that you have here, you said it was 1 week delayed from when you could start the excavations. When we were walking up the Tell, we could see the demilitarized zone with Lebanon. But you said you actually felt a little bit safer right now.
Well, in hindsight, we are situated here, and there was Hezbollah outposts on top of the village to the west, and on top of this demilitarized hill to the east, and they were watching us.
This was like for the past 10 years.
10 years. We were at gunpoint. Mm-hmm. And we knew that they were there, and we were excavating here, and not knowing what the future entails and what they were thinking about.
Right.
And once this threat was removed, I think we're safer here than we ever were to dig here. So
you're back digging?
Even with the events in Syria and the Druze everything that happened, which is very close by, we did not feel that happening. We did not hear almost anything. And the army is watching over us. We inform them every day that we're going up the tell.
Okay.
We let them know that we're leaving the tell, and they're watching over us. We know they're looking over our shoulders. So,
well, thank you very much for touring us around the site and bringing our viewers as well along with you. Thanks for your efforts over the past decade, 10-year anniversary for you, at least being up here on the site. How many more seasons do you think it'll tick on?
Well,
Just too much until you find the rest of this building here behind us.
Exactly.
Okay. Well, thank you very much for your time.
Sure.
Thanks very much to Professor Naama Yahalom-Mack for that interview. Such a wonderful site. You can look forward to an upcoming transcript of the interview in Let the Stone Speak, our magazine that comes out 6 times per year. That's free for you. If you so desire, go to our website, armstronginstitute.org, and you can scroll down and find a place where you can register to receive the magazine for free, again, 6 times per year, wherever you are in the world. And then finally, if you like our content on YouTube, don't forget to like and subscribe. I'll see you next time.